Hey everybody, this is Fantasy Football G. I'm your man Kat, and we are top of the week for Game Week 8. We're going to talk about the best attacking assets for the period of Game Week 8 till Game Week 11, which is the quarter we actually have until the next international break. So we can actually figure out which are the best transfer decisions we can make looking ahead, and also preparing and maybe even dead end into Game Week 12 because it's a good fixture turn in Game Week 12. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys. Let's get into this, man. So the first things first, I think we need to look at the fixtures to actually determine which are the best teams that actually have great fixtures ahead of them, and that way, I think we can then start to deduce which assets we need from these actual teams. So, looking at the fixture ticker here, Manchester City is above, with Arsenal second, Liverpool actually in third, surprisingly, considering they've got Chelsea, Arsenal, and Brighton and Aston Villa in those four fixtures in Game Week 8 to 11. And then we got Spurs actually beneath them. And I think this is really due to the fact that, Liverpool have a very good attack and a very good defense. So, I mean, regardless, of the fact that Spurs, in our opinion, would have the better fixtures, they would be above them in the fixture difficulty, the fixture ticker, essentially. I've arranged this according to points using the Fantasy Football Hub. You can check the link in the description below. We do have a 30-day, 30% off actually with the 7-day trial. So if you really want to get that, use the link in the description below. But what I've done for you guys here as well is right below me over here, as you can see, I've actually organized the best fixtures for the teams that actually have the best fixtures. And I think you need to do this for yourself so that you can also, in the end of the day, everything is team dependent, so you actually need to see, okay, based on my team and the transfers that I can make and the money in the bank that I have, team value, as well as players that I currently have, what are the actual current moves I can make. But in totality, of course, like we're saying, you need to look at the fixtures and see which are the best teams. So let's look at the bottom, guys who are at the bottom. So we also know who to avoid. And bottom four is actually Chelsea, which makes a whole lot of sense. And this is why I kept saying I would stay away from Cole Palmer. As good as he is, a lot of people actually think he's fixture-proof. But in my opinion, I just feel like the fixtures are just not in his favor at all. He's got Liverpool, he's got Newcastle, Man United, and then he's also got Arsenal as well. And just not the best. Fixtures really turned for the bad with Bournemouth there in the second bottom, and then you also got Brighton there as well, who've just taken a bit of a dip, and then Aston Villa as well is in the fourth bottom there, and then I think we can really consider everybody else in the middle there, and I don't want to go through the entire table, but you see there already that I think we all have, most likely most of us have double Arsenal defense there. We definitely have a Haaland asset there, and I think the question has been, can we go without Haaland? Not in this specific run. I think before this, it was okay not to have Haaland, also because he had a bit of two tricky fixtures, which he actually blanked in. I was one of the people who actually went against Haaland in one of them. I did believe that he would actually get some return against Fulham, but they proved, that their defense is actually very good this season. So Fulham, a team to actually not take lightly. But with them having good fixtures, definitely there are assets that we should be looking at, which we're going to talk about in a few now. When it comes to Liverpool, we've had the debate of, Jota or not, and I think Jota is definitely a sure locked in here, considering the amount of minutes that Nunes necessarily hasn't had. Nunes is definitely somebody to consider when it comes to the cups, and I'm talking about Champions League and even the Carabao Cup. But when it comes to the league, it seems like Diogo Jota is definitely the favorite there, with Luis Diaz kind of being a bit shaky and skeptical, because Gakpo's there as well, and he's been performing when he comes in as well. So it does kind of beg the question, I think Salah has had a dip in form. So with the fixtures that have come in, I wouldn't have Salah, or really, I wouldn't have Salah in my opinion. I think there's just other assets there that you can spread the money out to actually maximize and build a good team around Haaland or any other Man City assets who have good fixtures as well. But when it comes to Spurs, I think this is a great segue really to actually go into the assets that we would really want from these guys. So let's take a look at the midfielders, and starting off with City really. If you guys don't know, I've actually brought in Foden a long time ago because I actually saw this fixture run coming through, and I took a punt in all honesty, because we all know KDB took a break in this international break so that he can actually focus on his team and getting himself back into the swing of things really. And I think Foden has had some good minutes in the international break, playing in both games. In the first game, he actually started, played over 70 minutes, and then came in for Jude Bellingham in the second half of the England game as well, or after around the 80th minute as well. So I think Foden has proven that he's back in the sense that he's fit to play. And with KDB right now still being in question, I think Foden has not become a punt anymore. I think he's become a definite in the sense that he most likely start, in my opinion. And we can see that the actual hub AI is actually also favored him, because for the predicted points between game week 8 and game week 11, he's actually top. And this is behind the usual plays, which I've actually cut off. I've looked at the next bottom 5, which is the top players being, of course, Saka, Saka, Palmer, and Salah. And I think if you take away the fact that Foden has had a slow start, coming back from a hectic season, as well as an international tournament, we have to remember this guy was player of the season. And this is me trying to answer people's question as to whether or not you should bring Foden in. I've done it. I think you definitely can bring him in because KDB is in question. I think even if KDB is, let's say for a fact that, on Friday, Pep says, I'm recording this before that, by the way, Pep says, hey, KDB is back in training, and he's in contention in some way. I don't think he'll just immediately start. I think Foden having had his slow introduction into the team, I think he's definitely going to start. He has a lot to actually offer for the team dynamically as well. So yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of minutes, in my opinion, in these next few games. And this is where you definitely want him. So Foden for me is a must. Eze, we can all get rid of him, guys. He was in the middle half of the table. I think there are a lot of people who still are holding on to him. If you look at his ownership is at 15%. And I think it's mainly because, considering the fixture congestion with the European Cups and the actual local cups as well, and the Premier League as well, he's somebody that that is definitely going to be playing. And Mateta didn't play recently, so that sort of puts him in the forefront for penalties. But the thing is, it's Crystal Palace, the team itself, is just shaky. It's shaky, it's shady, and it's not necessarily complimenting him or really allowing us to get the returns that we expect from him. And I'm surprised that he's actually here. It would surprise me in the sense that if Bruno was here as well, because a lot of the AI models really love Bruno, and I feel like Eze's just been a disappointment in my perspective. I feel Brian Mbeumo should have actually been above him. That's somebody I expected to actually be above him. I feel like a lot of us own him as well, so that's good. If you don't, this is still a good time to actually bring him in. He has a good run of fixtures still to come in, so that's somebody to definitely bring in. When it comes to the Tottenham assets, I think Maddison coming in here sort of is an answer from the AI as to which one it definitely favors, looking at its predicted points across the games that are going to be played. His ownership is low, so he'll be a very good differential. Is pricey in the sense of 7.5, and you definitely have a Brendan Johnson who's a better option in terms of price. I think one of the content creators mentioned this, that Brendan Johnson would be a better option because the same way Son would, he's more so making the runs in behind, and Solanke is actually making runs in to collect the ball and help bring play up and stuff. So Solanke is not necessarily really always being the player at the end of the ball after an assist, and Rodgers is. not Rogers, sorry, Johnson is. So I myself, if you didn't have the money to go for a Madison, whose underlying stats honestly been good when it comes to, XGI, I would definitely go for a Brendan Johnson as well, because his form has definitely picked up. He really disappointed me in the beginning of the season, and I've been put off of him. I really have. But I think with Son's absence and Kulusevski coming in, I think they're really playing very differently, which has honestly got him to really push in and make those runs so they can actually have somebody at the end of their balls. So for me, if I was to rank who to go for from Spurs in terms of the midfield, it would be Brandon Johnson first. Then I would definitely put Madison, and then I would actually put Solanke there. Then I'll put Solanke there because he's just not necessarily looking threatening for me when it comes to the side. He's definitely contributing, but when it comes to the price, I think Johnson offers the better value. Offers the better value. Gordon is not someone I would necessarily look at, but I think if you're just looking for someone with secure minutes on penalties, with Isak necessarily being out, but he might be back with Wilson also coming as well back. So I think that Gordon is definitely a good asset to. Excuse me. Gordon is definitely a good asset to have in mind looking forward ahead of these fixtures. Let's take a look at the forwards now. Now, again, I've excluded Haaland. I'll look at the next best forwards. And I think starting from the bottom, Kunes come up in this. And that's just because their fixtures are going to be taking a turn, really. I feel like the question has become, when do we start bringing in Wolves assets? Because their fixtures are turning. I think they have a very great fixture turn from game week. Game week 12, I believe they, is it game week 12? No, game week 11, they play Southampton. You look at their game week 8, Man City, game week 9, Brighton away, and then the Chelsea. Brighton and Chelsea are no games. They're not a team to play against. Chelsea have definitely shown improvement, which is exactly what I've been wanting to see in this time I've been staying away from them, and also to actually see what assets are good enough to go for them. But sticking on to Wolves, I feel like if you really want to bring in especially the defensive assets, it should definitely be from game week 11. But I think you can get away with it at Chelsea, considering Chelsea are not all that ultimately defensively solid. So you can bring in Acuna and that time, but I think it really depends on you and your team value and when you want to hop onto these assets, because people definitely will be going for them, and that means price rises will happen. So just keep monitoring the price rises and the transfers as well, and you'll know whether or not to hop onto them as well. Ollie Watkins is a player to definitely be able to keep, but it's definitely someone you can sell, considering their fixtures are not all that great in these next 4 fixtures. I think Bournemouth is only the best fixture that they have. I think Fulham is going to be a very tricky fixture. I believe they also got Tottenham at 10 away, and they've got Liverpool as well away. So the fixtures are not necessarily in their favor. Kai Havertz did start off the international break with a bit of an injury scare, but I believe he is okay and will be at that game for Bournemouth. I think the fixtures are also tricky going into game week 9, 10 and 11. But this is Arsenal, they'll grab something, they'll grab a goal, and I believe Kai Havertz will definitely be involved. He has been involved, and he's really a great asset. I think we've discussed Solanke. We've definitely discussed Solanke. I don't think there's anything much to be said. I think Chris Wood, looking below me here, you can see that his team as well has some very good fixtures moving ahead, and he's somebody that surprised us in terms of minutes that he's had in the team. I think that he's had really good minutes, and also along with that, good performances and really scoring. He scored in this international break as well. So Chris Wood is somebody that you can, if you have in your team, definitely keep. Bring in, Crystal Palace at home is definitely a game. Leicester at home, West Ham at home, and then they have Newcastle in game week 11, which you can see for me out of the 4 game weeks, That's the only one which is a bit tricky. But what I do love about it is the fact that when you look at it, out of the 4 game weeks, they've got 3 game weeks at home, and one of those is against Newcastle, and we all know Newcastle can be shaky as well, and they've been shaky in the start of the season. So I think that Chris Wood is also a very good budget-friendly bet as well that you can go for if you want to be more on the differential side. And for me, differential is anybody who less owned than 20%, and that's what he is. Slightly less actually than Solanke too. So yeah, I like Chris Wood as a punt there. No honesty. But yeah, guys, like I mentioned, Fantasy Football Hub is still giving away 30% off of their subscriptions. You also get a 7-day trial along with that as well. So check it out. I've got the link in the description, and all of the assets that I've used are actually from the Fantasy Football Hub. So if you want to be using the same assets as a pro has, then go on there and actually get your Fantasy Football Hub subscription. So if you want to check out how I actually planned going forward, you can actually check out this video here, my team selection. I did map out how I will be moving forward from game week 8 to game week 11. And then, yeah, enjoy some other content down there, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.